Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Concept Spectrum podcast. Today, joining me are Utkarsh and Sanjay.
Hello.
Hello, guys.
This is episode 3 of our continuation for disruptive technologies. And my choice of disruptive technology today is energy storage. Now, the reason I think energy storage is one of the biggest problems in the world is because as much as we want to move to renewable sources for generating our energy requirements, we are just not doing the efforts that are needed to store that amount of technology, and that I think increases our dependence on renewables a lot. Now, another reason for me to select this as my disruptive technology is because one of my favorite companies also works in the same area, and I'm talking about no other company than Tesla, with their solar city and solar roof and power packs and even utility scale applications, as they have deployed the world's largest battery pack in southern Australia. So let's just look at basic statistics here from the last 1 or 2 decades. So the global installation of wind power capacity went from 17,000 megawatts in the year 2000 to 563,000 megawatts in 2018. If we look at the solar energy capacity went from 1,250 megawatts in the year 2000 to 485,000 megawatts in 2018. Now, as one of the questions we always need to ask is if we are if these are the numbers that we are producing, then why are we still so heavily reliant on the fossil fuels? And let me tell you guys, these numbers only represent less than 10 to 15% of our global energy consumptions. So what do we need to do to basically make our energy production more sustainable? Now, we in the last podcast, we talked about sustainability as a corporate policy. So guys, if you haven't checked out that podcast, please go ahead and give that a shot. Coming back to renewables. So even when we are expected, we have seen a 700% increase in the total capacity for renewable resources. These numbers are not yet complete. These numbers are still about to grow, and they're expected to grow another 50% of the existing capacity over the next 5 years.
But it's still not enough, right? From your point of view,
it's definitely not enough. We haven't even reached 15% capacity. So even doubling that, we might be able to just target like 20% capacity. But I feel if we have to reach a complete sustainable system that is carbon neutral, or basically produces energy as much as it consumes, we can't just rely on how we produce energy, but we also have to think about how we consume it, how we store it. And I think storage is a very big problem today.
I have a question, like in between storage. I also want to talk about how, for example, you talked about Tesla. So now Tesla makes electric cars, right? So they are using the batteries power which they have stored in a battery, and that you're using. That's how they're reducing. They're not using the car, like they're not using the gas, right? So now how would other appliances, or even like, for example, if you talk about if I have stored enough energy in a battery, now if I want to use that energy maybe in an airplane, so that's something which the system, or the integrated system, that also needs a big change. When you talk about,
you would require a huge amount of energy to store in a battery to run an airplane, right?
Right.
So basically, the limitation for the current batteries that are present today, they would need to be 4 to 5 times more in terms of energy density to sustain a long flight journey, because the amount of energy that is required for a airplane to work is definitely 4 to 5 times than greater than any other energy consumption vehicle. Also, we were talking about how Tesla is implementing battery technology. So one thing to consider about that is, even though you might be charging your car using electricity, but when you think about sustainable generation and storage of electricity, you also need to consider where the electricity is generated from. Basically, you are using the grid to charge your car. And even today's traditional battery storage, they are using lithium ion. And lithium ion, as good as it is in our cell phones, in our laptops, electric cars, it has a wide variety of application. But I really don't think that current lithium ion batteries will be able to sustain the utility grid applications, or the kind of applications that major cities would need.
Are these the same batteries they use in Tesla cars?
So, although the chemistry might be different on the battery construction, but basically, Tesla is also using lithium-ion based technology.
Okay.
The cell phone batteries that we use, Samsung, Dell, Lenovo.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
So a very big reason for why lithium-ion batteries might not work for utility grade applications is because basically extraction of lithium and the manufacturing process for a lithium battery for utility grade application is very expensive. Although costs have been falling, like for example, just like photovoltaic panels have been dropping in price, so has the lithium. The energy for lithium-ion batteries, but I still think it needs to go like 10 to 15 times the current price point to actually make sense for a utility grade application. Also, lithium-ion batteries are suffering from big drawbacks. Like you guys remember the incident with Samsung Note 7 or initial Tesla cars, which just caught on fire out of nowhere. Right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So that is one of the major drawbacks of lithium-ion batteries. The electrolyte in the batteries is stored in the liquid form, and this liquid is very flammable. Also, you might have noticed that when you're using your phone for more than 2 years, that phone doesn't hold the amount of charge it used to hold once upon a time, or basically when it was new.
Yeah.
Wherein your new phones can last you an entire day, but your old phones can barely make it through the day, and they just are, even though they function very nicely, but they are just not able to hold their charge. This is another very big drawback of lithium-ion battery, because they lose the ability to hold charge over time. Now, why they lose the ability to hold charge is because of three-dimensional structures that form in the battery due to repeated cycles called dendrites, and which make it very hard for the battery to actually allow the flow of current.
Okay.
Oh, so you're saying that for the lithium-ion charged batteries, there are two challenges. At first, the depletion rate is high, as well as the capacity to hold the energy is also low as well. So there are two-edged swords that we deal with.
Also, there is the fire hazard.
Yeah, but are they?
Yeah, that's the.
But I'm assuming they are cheaper.
The lithium-ion batteries?
Yeah.
So they are getting cheaper by the day, but they still are not as cheap enough to make sense for a utility scale application.
No, my understanding is like because as it's being used extensively at least in the phone market, I was just trying to understand. Like, what is the reason behind using, like, there should be some advantages, right? So I thought cost could be one of the advantages.
So since lithium-ion batteries have been around since like a century, the construction or the manufacturing process has gone down significantly, and the cost to produce a lithium-ion battery is really low. Also, it's like technology has been developed to modify the chemistry and hold more charge, but then the basic limitations of a lithium-ion battery, which is fading to hold the charge over time, the liquid electrolyte being inflammable, is the one are some of the things that might hold a lithium-ion battery back.
Okay, got it.
So
Now,
there must be another alternative to these batteries.
So absolutely. One of the areas of research is a solid state battery. So basically what they're trying to do is, instead of a liquid electrolyte, they are trying to replace it with solid electrolyte, which basically might just end the problem of dendrites. And what that means is your phone might hold the charge for long and might last longer time. Like, instead of just lasting 2 years, it might last you 4 or 5 years. Also, solid state batteries, you can actually reduce the size of the battery, since the smaller batteries can hold the same amount of energy density. So you kind of are fixing two challenges with solid state batteries. But in order to go to utility scales, we also have to look at some of the options that are actually going the non-lithium path.
Okay.
So one of the options would be flow batteries. Now, I know this is still a chemical-based battery solution, but the biggest advantage of a flow battery over lithium battery, I would say, is the electrolyte is still liquid, but it is not flammable.
Oh, okay.
So
it's not risky.
Basically, no dendrites.
Yeah.
So basically, no dendrites, since it is not using lithium-ion technology. It is not flammable, and the capacity to hold charge over time is not as bad as lithium-ion batteries. So if we want to talk about companies that are currently working with this, or that recently have made developments or are currently deploying projects, one of those would be Primus Power. Primus Power is established in 2009. They are using a zinc bromide chemistry. Now, they just received $100 million in funding. And what they have done is, it's a flow battery, but unlike a traditional flow battery, it only uses one tank of electrolytes. So what a flow battery is going to do is, the electrolyte is going to flow in the construction chamber, basically where your cathode and anode are there in the battery. And since it is not limited, or it's not tightly packed like a lithium-ion battery, if you just want a bigger battery, just install a bigger tank. So I feel this has a big potential for utility scale applications. Just imagine a huge or a big battery that can basically charge when your solar panels and your wind farms are producing enough energy to so that it has surplus energy to spare. And when the sun sets and the sun is not shining anymore, or the wind is not blowing anymore, so this basically will help you to manage the energy consumption demand in the peak hours.
Okay, that's interesting. But it's been a long time since I heard these terms, cathode and anode.
Yeah, even me. The last time I heard was either in engineering or in school or in college.
I think it was in our first year of engineering when we learned chemistry.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly.
So these batteries are the future to solve this energy problem, which I guess is one of the biggest problems that we have, and we need to solve it as soon as possible.
So to answer that question, batteries are going to help us solve the energy storage issue to a certain level. Now, when it comes to megacities of the world, wherein you have millions of people living in the same city, and the power consumption is just enormous. In these cases, I think you need bigger solutions than these. And what we are talking about right now is, currently 96% of the mechanical storage power comes from pumped hydro. Now, pumped hydro is basically when there is excess energy on the grid, water reservoir is filled at a higher height, and when there is demand in energy, it's just the water is allowed to flow into a turbine, and which generates electricity. Now, there is a company that takes this idea to a very interesting scale. It's called Energy Vault. So what Energy Vault does is it's a gravity-based energy storage solution. So basically, no chemicals involved, no electrolytes, no batteries. But how the system works is they have small bricks of 35 tons, which are moved up and down by cranes. When you have excess energy on the grid, these cranes are going to stack these blocks on top of each other, basically like storing energy into stacking the blocks.
Okay.
And when you have demand in the grid, these blocks are then lowered down and the energy is used.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, this company currently has funding from SoftBank. It has funding from Bill Gates Foundations, and basically it also has plans with India's Tata Power Company in the recent future.
Oh, wow. So what do you think if you compare the battery and this, as per your personal research, what do you think which one has more potential?
So I think energy storage market is a very big market, and if we think about one solution that fits all, it is not going to be the case. So I think there are going to be a few winners in this case, wherein on a very big scale, these mechanical solutions are going to be applicable. On a little smaller scales, you might see microgrids, which basically have a small cluster of batteries, and the system is installed in such a way that each microgrid is part of a bigger grid, and hence you kind of establish a distributed grid kind of a structure, wherein the grid is producing and consuming power at the same time by storing excess power in energy storage solutions and consuming it later on.
I feel like that if you see the Fortune 500 companies, the top 10 or top 20 always has those oil and coal companies. But I feel like this will be the first, if a company can manage to solve this problem, will be the first $100 trillion company.
Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
Sure.
Because just the energy storage market is expected to bring in $620 million of investment in the next 5 or 10 years. So this market has a huge growth potential.
Right, and if you look at the not only for cars, but it can have great implications on our space travel. When you launch a rocket, there's so much fuel that goes on, and right now we have SpaceX, which has their own technology, from which they are trying to reuse their own propulsion jets, and this will help in solving so many problems that it just not only will affect our daily life, but it can affect our future.
No, I totally
absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree, because I do believe if any of these companies are able to pull that in a larger scale, they're gonna be really big, because energy is the real money right now.
So guys, one of the questions we might want to ask ourselves is why do we want to do this? Why do we want to move away from these fossil fuels? So basically 2019 was the year wherein many countries actually observed one of the highest temperatures recorded, with Poland at 102 Fahrenheit, Germany at 101, southern France, UK, Alaska, Australia, all recording the highest recorded temperatures in like the last century or something. So it's basically high time that we take action and we do something about our energy crisis.
Yes, yeah, you are correct. It's growing, it's growing. We have to stop this. There will be, but to be frank, I do believe that it cannot. Obviously, it's not going to stop in one day. It's going to be small steps, baby steps, and I do believe these are not even baby steps; they are big steps towards that change.
And we can see this change happening already. India has aimed to move to renewable resources for energy generation by 2035, up to 30 to 35%. That's the target they are setting for by 2030 to 2035. Even California by 2030 is aiming for a lot more reliance on solar technology. By 2020, every house is required to have some form of energy storage or production when a new house is constructed.
Okay.
So I think there is a major movement going on. There is a lot of government support from many of the countries in the world. So I think we should be able to do this.
Yes.
If you make this technology cost effective and can be available for normal people to use these technologies, to use the energy stored through solars or winds, that would be the breakthrough that we need to solve this problem. Yeah,
absolutely. I think small scale energy storage solutions need to be a lot more cheaper or a lot more affordable. You can't expect people to have their own energy storage solution when they are so super expensive that it's just not affordable. So I think the cost needs to go down a lot more, and governments around the world also have a role to play in this, because as in the United States, you get subsidies for installing solar, installing wind. So I think government support is also a very important process.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. But so nice, cool, interesting, exciting future to look forward to if we can solve this.
Absolutely. Yeah. We definitely are looking at a future wherein we have abundance of energy and we are not damaging our environment. We are not we are basically carbon neutral system wherein we have plethora of energy sources. So all right guys, please like this podcast, subscribe to our channel, and if you want to hear about more disruptive technologies, please let us know in the comments below, and see you next time.
See you next time, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.